Right, hi everybody. Good morning, and I hope you had a good weekend. I'm going to show you really quickly how to do a hazard script, which is going to involve some layers, and just some other things that are going to be necessary for this game to kind of work with like goals and adding new levels and all of that stuff that this game is going to have. So when we get to the enemies, the basic idea with any of these enemies is that if you run into something that's labeled like a hazard, it's going to restart the level. So I'm going to show you really quickly what that'll look like. I've just made like this light blue color here is my basic hazard. So you can kind of see like going around that I have my character, everything's going good. Right now I still have it that I hit T, the character is going to respawn and kind of come back. But I also have this hazard here. So the idea is when I run into it, it's going to make me restart the level. And you can see when I do that, there it goes. And I'm back at the beginning and I would have to start over. So basically what I've done is, of course, I've just created a cube here. I'm keeping it pretty simple just to start. Again, this is called the white boxing or gray boxing process. And after I've done that, I have this box collider that's kind of a part of this, and I've made sure to label the trigger right here. I haven't labeled anything here. You can see that I have this label as a hazard, and I've added these things. But it's kind of more of just like a namespace at this point. One of the things that I've also done is you can see when I created my character, I have my character controller right here. This is kind of functioning as its rigid body. And again, I have the player transform as the transform. I have the model transform as this, and then I have the player as the character controller, which helps it reset. Now, what'll happen is the way that I made this all work together is I have this layers. So you can see if you go to your layers, and if you don't have layers yet, you can add them. And for this game, I'm just using layer 8 as player, layer 9 as hazard. There's some general ones here that you can't really change, so I just sort of leave those alone. You have up to 32 layers that you can pick if you want. And then the other thing that you want to go through, although it may still work initially, is if you go into edit and then your project settings, you can see that if you go to the physics, you have this layer collision matrix, and this is what you want your layer to look like. So basically, you want your player to be able to interact with the hazard, but not necessarily anything else. Okay. And then the last part is actually adding the script. So you can see I have my scripts folder here. I am going to make my cube a prefab. I'm just going to kind of keep it as a general hazard for a basis. So again, the way that I do that is I go here and I'm just going to add this. I might relabel this, and that's probably a good idea to do. I'm just going to call it basic hazard. And now I have my cube, it's labeled. I can add as many of those as I want, like around the level. So I can go here, I can go in and add them. And the other thing is the script. So for now, this is a super basic script. It doesn't have a start or update method. And basically what it's saying is if I collide with the object, which is here, I have this on trigger enter, it's going to be looking for layer 8, which is my player. And then what it's going to do, this line of code right here, is basically telling it that it is looking for that player script. So once it finds that player script, then it's going to call this method right here. So it's going to say this player object is going to run this method. And so once that happens, as you can see, if I'm going to add a few more of these cubes just as a way to sort of illustrate this. And I could add these to the game. Again, once I've made them, I can go in. So for instance, if I wanted to make these like a little bit bigger, I could go into prefab mode by double clicking, and then I can add these. And then when I go back, you can see that these are now here. Okay, so I can change them once I've made, a couple of different ones in prefab mode. And now I can run around, and if I hit any of them, it's going to take me to the beginning of the level. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that's going to have the script on it. Like in the book, it goes through, okay, you want to make a sphere because that's going to be like a projectile that the one of the enemies is shooting at you. But the basic idea is like once you have that script, the other stuff kind of comes together pretty easily. You'll see that having the layers also affects like the collection of the coin, and everything else, which is right here. One thing that I'm doing is I'm adding like a level two, and I'm working on that with the coin and the goal. So these are just like the basics of the script, but I can have a pretty like well-functioning game just from this. Okay, so I hope that helps with the basic elements of the the hazards. You'll find that once you have these elements working, a lot of the stuff that's going to go into this game kind of comes together pretty quickly. All right, so have fun, and I'll see you next time.